the question is that reflected in personality traits? Now, the other thing about people that's worthwhile recognizing is that we're hunters, right? People are carnivorous. We're pretty damn good at bringing down big game. It's reasonable to suppose that the reason that there aren't as many large animals in North America as there are in Africa is because when human beings came into North America 15,000 years ago, they killed all of them. They killed all the mammoths, they killed all the giant bears, they killed all the cats, they killed all the, I think there were camels, maybe. Can't remember precisely. Anyways, there was a very large array of very large mammals. And they started to disappear pretty damn quickly after the period of time where people migrated into North America. Now, one of the theories is that in Africa, the animals and the people co-evolved so that the animals and the people had fallen into some sort of mutual stability. But in North America, that wasn't the case at all. You know, and I don't think it was that easy to bring down a mammoth with a spear. So it was very destructive of people to do what they did, but it also says volumes about what human beings are like. And it's certainly the case that a non-trivial proportion of the human population still hunts, and they'll do that for leisure, which is something that's very difficult for people who aren't hunters to understand. And they're almost all men, which I don't think will come as a surprise to anyone. So I think that predatory aggression is on the other side of agreeableness. And we also know that the best predictor of whether or not you're going to be in prison is low agreeableness. Now, low conscientiousness also helps, but the fundamental marker of antisocial behavior, insofar as it's captured by the big 5 personality markers, seems to be low agreeableness. And that, you might also say, given that men are less agreeable than women, that's part of the reason why men are much more likely to be imprisoned than women. I think it's 91% of incarcerated criminals are male, but I'm certain that it's above 80%. I believe it's 91%. Now, one of the things about personality traits that you want to keep in mind is that they're normally distributed. And you need to understand some things about the normal distribution if you're going to understand how personality affects social outcomes. Because it looks like men are only about a half standard deviation less agreeable than women. And what that means, if you pull a given woman out of the population and a given man, you can by no means say for certain which of those two are going to be less agreeable. On average, it's going to be the man. But there's not a huge difference in probability. It's still quite highly probable that the woman will be the least agreeable of the two. Now, a normal distribution presupposes a mean and then random distribution around the mean. And one of the things that you'll learn in psychology is that variables are normally distributed. And that's actually not true. Some variables are normally distributed, and lots aren't. And you need to know about the ones that aren't, because many of them are extremely important. Wealth is not normally distributed. Creative ability is not normally distributed. Anything that has to do with the human propensity to produce is not normally distributed. What happens is that in those situations, almost everyone does nothing, and a very tiny fraction of the people do everything. So, for example, I suspect that the median number of records that you people have produced is 0. So, and that's the case for very many phenomena that are associated with creativity. There are some things that are normally distributed, and personality traits seem to be one of them. The effect of personality traits on production might not be, but the personality traits themselves are. And so, you can see if you look at this distribution, this is something you really have to know and understand if you're going to understand research in psychology. This is like a basic axiom of all the statistics. The first axiom is that the phenomena that you're measuring are normally distributed. Generally, when you do a statistical analysis, you have to test to see if that's true. And most statistics can handle a fair bit of deviation from normality without being rendered invalid. But the list of variables that I just described to you, say those that are associated with creative production, do not fall into that category. They have very long tails. They're distributed according to something called the Pareto distribution, which we'll talk about more when we get to conscientiousness and trade openness. Now, you'll see there's a middle line there, and that's the mean and the median and the mode in a real normal distribution. And then the curve is divided up into equal sections, roughly 4 of them on each side of the distribution, so 8 in total, that represent a way of representing the normal distribution. And so by the time you get out to 3 standard deviations above the mean, you're talking about 0.1% of the population. So, and the same thing is true on the other end, 3 standard deviations below the mean. So basically the entire population is encompassed within 8 standard deviations. Now it's not quite true because the tails keep going. There's just there's so few people out there at one point that, you know, they vanish into they almost vanish. That doesn't mean their existence is not necessarily important. You know, one guy who's 6 standard deviations below the mean in agreeableness might be the serial killer who kills 100 people. So those exceptions can still have extraordinarily powerful impacts. They're just not statistically very common. Now, the normal distribution for men and women overlaps quite a lot for most single personality traits. So women are half a standard deviation more agreeable than men. So you can imagine 2 curves that overlap with the female distribution being shunted slightly to the right. And so what that means, as I said, if you take out a random woman or a random man from the distribution, it's somewhat of a toss-up who's going to be more or less agreeable. However, if the situation is such that only the person who's 1 in 100 least agreeable ends up in prison, all of the people who end up in prison are going to be men. Because the consequence of shifting the curve slightly to the right is that when you move out to the left-hand side of the distribution, out, say, 3 standard deviations in the entire population, all of the people out there are going to be men. So what that means is that small differences in the mean, even if the distribution is the same shape, small deviations from the mean can produce huge social effects at the periphery. So, you know, here's an example. There aren't that many people who are 5 standard deviations above the mean in intelligence. But among them are a tremendous number of Nobel Prize laureates. So, because you can understand with intelligence, it isn't exactly how smart you are that matters. It's how smart you are compared to other people. Because if you're smarter than other people, you're going to get to where everyone's going faster. And it's the fastest person it's the person who's fastest at that who's going to get there first. So comparative ability really, really matters when you're looking at exceptional levels of ability, of productive output. It's a rough law,